What's up, guys? I'm going to demonstrate how we can do a fix and flip in QuickBooks, and I'll show you just as someone who maybe is brand new and just starting their business. I had someone reach out to me and ask what the setup would be like after they purchase the property and they're ready to fix and flip. So let's just go into how we want to set it up in our chart of accounts. It's going to be a little bit different because if you're purchasing a property, normally you would have your real estate on the balance sheet, so you'd separate it by land, by the building, your closing costs, and any kind of improvement you would put it into a capital improvement on the balance sheet, so that over time you can depreciate it throughout the time that you own that real estate. But for a fix and flip, we actually want to set it up in the cost of goods sold so that we can utilize the project portal. So what I did is made this parent account flip project, and I have these sub accounts underneath it that we're going to use. The second thing that we need is to set up our customer. And we need to set this up because you can't have a project unless you actually have the customer first. So we have 123 Oakwood Drive. That's going to be the property that we purchase. And when we come into the projects and we do a new project, I'm going to set this up for the year 2020 so we can just so I can demonstrate what it looks like on the balance sheet and the profit and loss. But you'll do a new project and it'll be the sub-customer of the 123 Oakwood Drive. And I just named this one Flip just to separate it out. And then the last thing that we need is to go into the product and services. This is where you're going to get your level of detail during your flip. So I made a few categories. Obviously, you would set this up however you would like for your business, whatever level of detail that you need. But I just have a few in here. And to make these, you want to figure out what you want to name it, and it's going to map back to your rehab costs and your cost of goods sold. So that's what we had set up in the chart of accounts. And I'll just quickly show you what this looks like, just so in case you haven't done this before. If it ever wants to load. But you'll have your name in there. You'll come to the purchasing, and your expense account is going to be in rehab costs. And I'll show you why we're going to do that. So let's go into our bank and let's do a couple deposits. So we're going to use a private money lender to fund this project, and we have 3 of them here. So Mike gave us $80,000, and we're going to put this into a liability account. So I named it private money, a private money loan, and then I have the sub accounts underneath it to indicate, or I guess to separate the different lenders. So we have Mike. We're going to set up our class, so we want to make sure we have classes set up. Name it whatever property that you are renovating. We'll have Mike as the vendor. Okay, we have Dave. Same thing for him. And we'll have Susan. So we have our liabilities set up. And let's take a look at what the balance sheet looks like here. Alright, so we're just going to say this is a brand new account. This is the money that we received. And here's all of our liabilities. Dave, Mike, and Susan. This is what we owe back to them after we're done with the project. So the last thing that we do before we acquire it, we have to send money to the title company as earnest money. I have an account set up as a purchase deposit for another current asset. The vendor is the title company. We want the class. And then this is where we're putting in our project. So we'll see, here's the main customer, and we have our flip project here. Okay, so that's also going to be sitting on the balance sheet. So now that we have the property, we're going to create a journal entry. And the title company will give a HUD statement. And this is where we fill out the HUD into the books. So you'll see purchase price was $150,000. Buying costs, so those are just the closing costs, $2,200. We have some tax and any kind of holding costs that we had to pay for to the lender, and then any other kind of expense. Maybe we're buying down points or have some daily interest. We're going to put that into the debt service. You can see the purchase deposit, we got credited back for that earnest money that we already spent, and then the rest we did a cash to close. So we just used all cash from the money that we borrowed from our private money lenders. I'm going to change this to the year of 2020, and we'll save this. So now we'll be able to see in our project portal what it's going to look like. We haven't incurred any expenses yet, but since we're putting everything into cost of goods sold, here's where you'll see our expenses so far. Purchase price, the buying costs, the holding costs, and the debt service. Alright, so let's go into our bank and let's just do a few transactions here. We paid the title. This was our cash to close, so This should match to our journal entry, so that's easy enough. Now as we go along with the project, we're going to put these into the product and services that we set up. So we'll say we have some materials for the roof for $10,000. We'll ignore the account here. We have our vendor, 84 lumber, our class. We know this is for the roof, so we're going to put that in the product and service. Make sure our project is in here. Let's go into Greg here. So Greg is a subcontractor. So maybe we need to make a new vendor for Greg. I don't know why I always have to refresh this. It's kind of a glitch in QuickBooks. But anytime you have a subcontractor, you want to make sure they fill out a W-9 so that you can get all the information from them. Because when we come in here and we're incurring expenses for our project and we're paying certain contractors, we want to have this tracked as a 1099 so that we can send that out to them at the end of the year. So when they fill out that W-9, they should give you all the information. You want to put in their email, phone number, their address for their business, their EIN number or their social security, and then right here you're going to track the payments for the 1099. So that'll be important for you to track throughout the year. The 123 Oakwood class, let's put our project in here. And Greg did some demolition for us. Same thing, let's say Carlos, he did the roof for us. Alright, we already set up the vendor for him. So go under roof, put it to our project. And let's just do a few more so that we can get an idea of what this shapes up to be. We have floor and decor. Class 123 Oakwood Drive. This was for flooring. Home Depot. This was for the kitchen. Put it to our project. And let's see if we can get a couple more in here. We got another Home Depot. And we'll say for the bathroom. Alright. So let's just see what this looks like so far. Let's go into our projects. Okay, we still have our cost of goods sold here. And you can see that the rehab costs have now gone up. So when we click into the rehab, this is where our product and services have been mapped to. So this doesn't really tell us a whole lot. We do have all of our rehab costs, but the cool thing is we can sort this by product and services. And now we get this really nice report that shows where we're spending our money on certain parts of the project. We have our bathrooms, the demolition, the flooring, kitchen. We have our roof expenses. So this is the level of detail that you probably want, because if you're going to do a lot of fix and flips, you can come back into these and compare what you were spending on previous projects to help you estimate for the next one. So that's a cool thing about using that. And let's go into our profit and loss so we can see what this looks like. So we have our project portal that gives us some good detail. Our profit and loss is going to be similar to what we see in the projects. And what I like about this is, like I showed before, if we're running a couple of projects at the same time, we can see side by side what our projects are doing. So let's go back and let's get a few more in here. So let's just say we had to get more money. So Dave gave us another loan. So we're going to add that to the balance sheet. 123 Oakwood Drive for the class. And maybe we have one more for the foundation. So we already have Greg set up as the vendor. We have our foundation and our project. So now we're at the end of our project here. So let's just quickly look at what we're seeing for the balance sheet and the profit and loss, just to get an idea of where you would be at the end of a project. So you're going to show a big loss so far because you put all of your expenses into cost of goods sold. So we still have our loans here that we need to pay. And we have this huge amount for our net income. But this is where we want to be. And another video I can show is if you're at the end of the year and you need to transfer this onto the balance sheet, you can do that so that you're not showing a big loss at the end of the year. But this is where we're at with the project. Okay? Let's go ahead and sell the property. So we're going to go back into the journal entry. And maybe we sold it 12/5/2020. Okay. And we're gonna do sales price, the flip sales price. This will be our income. And we'll say we sold it for $450,000. We're gonna put our project in here in our class. We'll have our selling costs. So maybe it was 450,000 times 8%. And normally this would be like your bank account, but for this demonstration I'm just going to use this phantom account just to show what this looks like. Maybe you're close to the end of the project and you just want to see what your total income would be if you were just trying to estimate. So let's save this, and now you see the income that is coming in on the project portal. We have our cost of goods sold. Okay, this would be our profit. And now we need to pay back our lenders. So we can even go back into this journal entry. I actually just want to see what this looks like if we just put in the bank account. Alright, so that's what we received. And then normally you would see it in the bank feed and you can match that as well. And now we need to pay back our lenders. We have Mike who lended us $80,000. We're gonna go back into here. So we'll put it back into the liability. Okay, we have Mike, 123 Oakwood Drive. And we actually, maybe we decided that, I mean, most likely they're gonna need interest with it, right? So that's why it's 86,400. So we're gonna do 80,000 to offset that liability account. And then this would just be an interest cost for 6,400. Okay, so these should match up. That should go into our interest. Let's take a look on our balance sheet. And now you can see that Mike is down to 0, so he got paid. He comes off that liability. So that's what we want to see. And then when we come into the net income, we should see that interest expense as well. And then we have the interest expense. Whether or not that goes into cost of goods sold, it's something that you just have to think about, but it will be on the profit and loss. And then when we do this by class, everything goes into 123 Oakwood, and we have our net income. So that would be really the way of going about the project. And the cool thing is, once you set this up, especially with the classes, you can see all your projects in one line, and you can actually go side by side to see what your profits were. That gives you the clean reports. And then if you ever wanted to go into your rehab costs, you can see that full level of detail within your project of how much you spend for each individual piece of the project. So you would group this by products and services, and now you have this full level of detail, which is pretty cool. So anyways, if you guys have any questions, of course, just leave anything in the comments. If you have any ideas of other videos that you might want to see, I'm just trying to really make these videos that can maybe help other bookkeepers figure out how to help their clients. And this is just a good way for me to learn too, just to kind of think through how these things get set up as you go through the process. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you on the next video.